Estate. We're going to be inside doing the virtual tasting here shortly, but wanted to show you guys a little bit of the gorgeous vineyard. Another ridiculously beautiful day. Steve's going to talk a little bit about what's going on with the vineyard right now, the bud break. You can see him. Here's Steve in his element. Someone says wave. 3 people says wave. Here's Steve with a glass of Linné Chardonnay and a beautiful view from Linné Estate. See a little bit of the horizon around here today. People are joining in. Give it a second here, Steve, where people are all joining in furiously. So how's the weather been this year, Steve? Ridiculously beautiful. It's like we're in June already.
It's been a nice springtime. So welcome, guys. We're going to just start out here, and then we're going to kill this story and start a new one when we go inside and taste the wines. But just wanted to give you a little shot of the vineyard, because life still goes on in the vineyard, although it's going to be certainly an interesting year for people. But you can see this beautiful crimson clover that's coming up. This is a cover crop we plant in the fall, and it comes up, and we disc part of it in, and then we leave this row, and we end up mowing this row, and we completely work this ground down so there's no weeds, no anything in this particular row. So what we're doing here is we're just eliminating any competition in one row, and we're leaving a little bit of competition in this row, although this will all be mowed. And the reason we leave this is because if we ever get in a really nasty year where it's very wet, we need some traction to get up and down the hill here and to get fruit out. So, and some years up top we actually have what we call clean cultivated the entire portion up there. And the reason for that is because that's a very, very stressed part of the vineyard, and as the vineyard produces a lot of fruit each year, it just poops out. It says, hey, the grapes just say, we don't have enough nutrition to keep going here. You've got to do something. And so we eliminate all the competition and we adjust the nutrition a little bit. It's a very stressed site, very, very low vigor site, and that's really why the wines are what they are. But we have to keep the vineyard in balance. We can't have these vines dying on us, so it's always a balancing act. Some years we give back a little bit, some years we take a little bit. So anyway, this is this beautiful crimson clover, all going to be mowed this week, but it's just coming out. We're trying to get a few pictures before we end up mowing it all.
So we're just past bud break here, Steve.
Yep, we're just past bud break. Going to do our first spray this week. Pretty soon we'll come in and we'll come in and select all these buds. We'll basically take it down to about 10 different shoots here, and we'll rub off all these suckers down here.
It's a good year for suckers, it looks like, right now.
Yeah, well, they'll come more and more. We'll make a couple of passes rubbing out all these suckers. If you let them grow, then they're a real pain to take off. And then they'll come in pretty soon and start to, we'll start to adjust this catch wire. The wires are pretty good now, but eventually when these shoots grow, then they'll bring these wires up, they'll tie them, and train these shoots vertically. This is called the vertical position trellising system. So this is very unlike viticulture in California or up in Washington. This is like viticulture in Burgundy. So we're training these shoots upright to give maximum amount of sunlight to these leaves, so we get the maximum amount of ripeness.
And we have, as part of our very low yield, you guys can see the vines. Literally, we just leave one cane on most vines. Some of the end ones have two because they get a little bit more nutrients in the soil with no competition. But this is single goblet, we call this usually?
These are, so this is our fruiting cane. And then from that fruiting cane, we leave about 10 shoots. And each of those shoots are going to have about two clusters on them. And depends on the year. Some years we'll leave those clusters. Some years we'll thin one of those clusters on one shoot and leave the other two on the other shoot. Well, let's go back in so we can get this on the road. We're going to be right back, so we're going to pop a news story on here shortly. It'll take us a minute to get in the taste room, and then we'll start it up again.
And here's our, if you haven't been here, here's the tasting room. We're literally 10 feet, 5 feet from the vines here. And we're going to be right in this little patio out here doing some tasting, but
you want to just keep it on your phone?
You can see the view you guys get just from our tasting room area here. Now my battery's really low.